Hi everyone, my name is Annie Blicklen. I'm here in Bangkok with Dr. Sean Case, President and CEO of Valeura Energy. Hi Sean.
Hi Annie, it's good to be back with you here in Bangkok today.
It's good to have you. And yesterday, Valeura announced its full year 2024 results, and just over a month ago, announced its year-end 2024 reserves. There were some impressive numbers disclosed, including record reserve and resources at year-end, which show a reserve replacement ratio of 245%. Can you help our viewer to understand exactly what that means?
Yeah, well, quite simply, what it means is we actually produced 8.4 million barrels, but we found new reserves of more than 20 million barrels, right? So we've increased our reserves significantly last year. And importantly, what that means for us is actually we're extending the field life of all the fields that we have there. So the cash flow that we're seeing, we can extend that further out into the future. So it's a very good result. And what's actually kind of interesting is that we've actually, in less than 2 years of operating these assets, have added new reserves in excess of what we acquired originally from KrisEnergy Mubadala.
So that means it's the second year in a row that more than 200% reserve replacement. What sort of initiative contributed to this, and do you believe it's possible to replicate this success in the future?
Yeah. Well, first, let's address how are we able to do this? So first off, it's drilling. That's the number one thing. You need to be drilling wells. And normally when we drill a development well, what you're doing is taking reserves you know are there and converting them into production. But what you find in the Gulf of Thailand, generally when you drill a new well, you find new zones that you weren't aware of. So you are converting that reserves into production, but by the end of the year, the new zones that you find come into your reserves and increase your reserves further. So when we look at it, we've been drilling a lot since we took over. We have a rig working full time, and that's what's really helping us add to the reserves. The second thing is really good technical work by the team. So they've been going through all the data of these late life producing wells. How are they behaving? How much oil recovery are you seeing? And going through with the reserve auditors to identify areas where there's gaps, where we're seeing more oil being recovered than was expected. And then the reserve auditor gets the confidence to then increase the reserves on the back of that detailed technical work. So really more drilling and technical work, but now more importantly, can we keep doing this? So if you look at the Gulf of Thailand first off, this is not an anomaly. I mean, look at the public data that's available out there. Generally, the Gulf of Thailand has more than 100% reserve replacement every year. So we're really doing something that's quite typical. Now, over 200%, can we keep doing that? Could be a bit of a challenge, but 100%, that's definitely achievable.
Oh, okay. What does it mean for the value of the company?
Yeah, that one's very simple. Essentially then, your reserves really are your future value. So if we have 50 million barrels of 2P reserves, that's going to convert to $753 million US in value on that 2P basis. Then we add our cash of 259 to that, and you're over $1 billion, actually what we call a net asset value for the company. But the other point we like to point out to people is that the reserve auditor's numbers, the reserve auditor's value assumes that you're not going to find another barrel, right? And whereas what you've seen is we said we keep adding, so it's a conservative number. We see much more value out there from our assets.
So one of the other operational successes you announced recently was your Valeura drilling update, which has led to increased production rate and has identified new drilling targets. What the impact of these results moving forward?
Yeah, we do bring up Valeura quite a bit, even though it really is one of our smallest fields. But when we were bidding for these in 2021, that field was supposed to be abandoned in 2022. Here we are in 2025, and our reserve report says it's going into 2030. So we've drilled 5 wells there recently. 3 were development wells. All of those have been brought on production, contributing oil into the production right now. 2 of them had more of an appraisal component. Now, one of those has also been brought on production, but the other one, while it was not brought onto production, identified again new oil zones that we will target with future development wells. So again, new oil, reserves at year end, and likely pushing the end of field life out even further.
Ooh, wow. And turning now to your quarter four and full year 2024 result, I know most of the key numbers, including production and cash were announced in your operations update in January. But what's new in yesterday's announcement?
Yeah, well, the first thing is it's always good to get those audited financials out there that really solidify the numbers that you've been saying prior to getting the auditor to go through. But what I want to point to really was last night we did a webcast, and Yassine actually presented there quite an interesting slide on the balance sheet. Now, I'm a geologist, pretty simple on this finance stuff. To me, finance, it's cash and it's cash flow. But what he pointed out on the balance sheet was very interesting. So if you look at our assets, in the past 2 years, they've increased 18 times, right? That's not surprising with what we've done. So we have 857 million in assets. Now it's a balance sheet. Therefore, we have 857 million in liabilities. But when you break those down a bit, there's a couple of key things. One, our future abandonment liability, our ARO, we've managed to reduce that from 189 million to 84 million. So that's very critical. Also, we've reduced a number of the other liabilities. And what that means then is what your shareholder equity part of your liability has actually almost doubled to over 500 million. And that's kind of key, because that's really the value of the company that you're seeing as a shareholder, is that component.
So what else should viewers be thinking about Valeura's business?
Well, first off, the business is going very well now across all aspects: production, drilling, finance, and tax. All of these are coming together to deliver two things: one, cash, and the other one is increasing reserves and resources, our future.
Right.
And why this is working so well is we have an excellent team here in Thailand, and they really have a very strong technical knowledge. They have deep experience in these assets. And the other part I like is they have relationships and really heart and really buy into the assets to really focus on delivering them and delivering results safely. But what people want to know about with us is growth. And M&A keeps coming up. And yes, we are very much still focused on M&A. But I want to talk about growth in a little more detail on these assets, because let's look specifically at these assets we hold. Since we've taken them over, we've taken cash from 0 to 259 million. We've taken the asset value from about 250 to over $1 billion. And we've taken the share price up. At the beginning of last year, we were hanging around below $3 a share.
Right.
Now we're at $8 a share and bouncing in that sort of area. So if we want to talk about growth, it's cash, it's value, and it's share price. It's not about barrels per day.
Right.
Now, we're still focused on M&A, but we can be patient, and we're going to apply our criteria strictly, because these assets are delivering growth. And that, to me, is what's so exciting, is what we're doing here with these assets.
Wow, that's very interesting. And thank you very much, Ron, for taking time talking to me today. And thank you everyone who tuned in to us once again. Watch us. ขอบคุณค่ะ